Breaking news, Hurricane Harvey barreling into the Texas coastline.
I think any of us who experienced the storm know that it was a surreal experience. The rain just kept coming, tornado warning after tornado warning, being homebound, not being able to leave your home because of the waters rising, hearing from friends and colleagues who were personally impacted. It was very distressing.
It was during the storm itself, when we recognized the magnitude of the storm, the fact that almost every community in the city was impacted. Harvey hit areas, neighborhoods that were already underserved and under-resourced, and it pushed them down even further.
Through no fault of theirs, the state of Texas couldn't get relief in here to us. FEMA couldn't get to us. We needed rescues, and I went on television and I said, if you have a boat, come help. That was not brilliance on my part. That was a recognition that people were going to put their boats in the water and help whether I asked them to or not. Floodwaters don't pay attention to city limits or county lines. Now we're in this together and we're going to get through this together.
Up to 55 inches of rain came down on Houston last August. And it took out many people in their homes. It did not take out the spirit and soul of Houston.
The Greater Houston Community Foundation is a public charitable foundation, and we focus on expanding philanthropic impact in the Greater Houston area. We have a real history in disaster relief because of the work we had done with President Bush, 41. We actually administered the Bush-Clinton-Katrina Fund, the Tsunami Fund even before that. We had worked with the mayor's office a little bit before, and so when this happened, they reached out, and then we got a call from the county telling us they were going to work together.
It was almost like we didn't even have to solicit. People wanted to know, how can I help? And so whenever anybody contacted my office, for example, we'd say, we've set up a fund, the Hurricane Harvey Relief Fund.
People wanted to give right then and there. We needed an organization that could receive those funds right then and there. The Greater Houston Community Foundation was just the ideal vehicle for us.
It was decided there would be an advisory board chaired by Tony Chase from the city side and Bill Jackson from the county side, along with 10 advisory board members who are all community leaders.
Bill and I got together to try to figure out how we could best structure a relief fund to avoid politics and provide maximum relief and effectiveness to the most damaged parts of our community.
We knew we needed a larger team, and so we basically put together a grants committee that would go out and work in the community and find out what the real needs were.
The Hurricane Harvey Relief Fund Grants Committee was composed of about 10 to 12 individuals representing different foundations from throughout the city and county. And really our role was to do a lot of the due diligence and fact gathering about what the needs were on the ground through the form of site visits, roundtables, convenings.
The Grants Committee was responsible for reviewing applications and really thinking about how organizations are best able to fill in gaps and needs. The site visits really allowed us to go deep with organizations to ask questions and better understand their outreach strategy and what their footprint was before the storm that would put them in the best position to serve.
The situation with Harvey was so devastating that it couldn't help but to pull each one of us into it emotionally. And we wanted to honor that emotional connection. At the same time, we wanted to step back, and we knew that we needed some help in terms of what is actually going on in our community. So we reached out to the Kinder Institute, a group that had really done some fabulous and very helpful homework.
Our needs assessment work really brought together 211 data, 311 data from the city, FEMA individual application data after the storm to inform the decisions that the Harvey Relief Fund were making with the donations that came in and to really help target those to be most effective.
I think one of the key learnings of this disaster is that data are key, and the ability to share data across the organizations that are part of the response, organizations that are part of the philanthropy, organizations that are part of the political system that have to make the bigger decisions.
We knew the areas where homes were more susceptible to rain. We knew the areas where there were concentrations of families that really didn't have the resources to quickly bounce back from the storm. We knew that there were areas that had homes that were in the 100-year floodplain, the 500-year floodplain, homes that were applying for FEMA dollars.
It's incredibly important for the Hurricane Harvey Relief Fund that we're using data to drive decision making. We had over 125,000 donors to the Hurricane Harvey Relief Fund, and so I feel an incredible responsibility to those donors to use their dollars effectively.
And while the $100+ million that were raised seems like a lot of money, when you compare that to the level of disaster and need, it was really kind of a drop in the bucket.
We all felt the urgency of distributing the needed funds to the victims as soon as possible. We also felt the fiduciary duty to the many generous donors. We wanted to really perform a good job on behalf of both the donors and the victims. We have 4 rounds of distribution so far.
Immediately post-storm, the needs were more around basic needs such as emergency financial assistance, temporary housing, food, clothing. As time has gone on, the needs have changed, and folks in the community are needing home repair services, legal services so they can access public funds, for example, through clearing the title on their home so they can be eligible for FEMA. So it's been interesting to watch the needs in the community shift over time, and again, very gratifying to see how the Relief Fund has nimbly met those needs in the community.
For some rounds, organizations were invited to actually apply. Other rounds, we identified organizations based on what they provided, what assistance they provided to the community. On other rounds, it was just open. Anybody could apply.
One of the beauties of having 4 rounds of grant making is that with every round, we're learning how to make the process better, how to make it easier for the nonprofits to apply, how to make sure we're capturing the data that we need through our reporting.
One of the reasons that I hold the Greater Houston Community Foundation in such high regard is because of the strength of the follow-through that they've established with each of the grantee organizations. They've established reporting timelines, and they also check in with all of the grantees on a regular basis.
If you can imagine, we've had more than 400 applicants across the 4 rounds at this point. Each round we've been able to bring in new grantees and new applicants that we hadn't served or we hadn't provided funding for in previous rounds, and so that's been exciting. We're looking at their financials, we're looking at their board of directors, we're looking to see if they're financially stable, we're looking at their history of experience in the recovery sector.
As a nonprofit CEO, I was very impressed, how promptly they can process this application. And I would say less than 2 weeks. With the funding, the first step we did was we recruit full-time experienced case managers. That made a lot of difference.
The Hurricane Harvey Relief Fund, in conjunction with Boat People SOS, my organization, saw a need for FEMA appeals, and through that they were able to receive funding to bring on a staff attorney.
These attorneys, basically, they're helping anybody that come to our office to deal with FEMA appeals, landlord and tenant issue that arises out of Harvey. Without the money from the fundings, we would never ever be able to help these clients the way that we are doing now.
The Greater Houston Community Foundation, their staff support, their expertise in nonprofit social services and relief work was invaluable, and they worked tirelessly.
Houston's a can-do city, and so we want to strategize, we want to learn, but when something happens, we go into action, and we go into action really quickly.
The beauty of this experience has been seeing the way so many different partners in our community have come together with one goal of serving those who need help in recovery in the fastest and most effective way possible.
Whether it's the state and local or local, county and city, we have to work together. That's who we are.
For me, that is the takeaway from Harvey. Not about the water that fell. It's about how the city and the community rose up, stood together as one, and demonstrated that we are far greater as a team when we work together.
As a city and a community and the county was very lucky to have the Greater Houston Community Foundation already in place and up and running.
Our relief efforts couldn't have been possible without the collaboration of different organizations, from social service agencies to government entities to other funders.
And although a lot of people were devastated, what I saw happening between leadership in the county, leadership in the city, leadership from the Greater Houston Community Foundation, faith groups across the county, 501c3s and agencies, we are all greater together.
It was so inspiring to see how Houstonians pulled together, neighbors helping neighbors, strangers helping strangers. It really was Houston at its very best.
When we work together, different sectors, different expertise, we are greater together.
We realize that we're truly greater together.
I can't say it any better. We really are greater together.
Greater together.
Greater together.
Greater together.
#greater together.